We're moving on to this story about the World Economic Forum. Yes, it is taking place. For those who are not aware, this event happens every year. These world leaders get together, a lot of elites, usually. They go to Davos and they sit around and they talk and they plan. They talk about us and the economy and their plans for the economy. So far, they've already spoken about censorship. They've spoken about misinformation on social media and how they want to be able to monitor more information. But don't get it twisted. There's also discussion about war. And of course, if you can imagine, Zelenskyy was also present at the WEF. He was actually one of the headliners this year's event. I want to get started with that part of the WEF, and then we're going to transition into Antony Blinken's statements. But essentially what this is Zelenskyy showing up at this event, headlining this event, because Zelenskyy is out there asking for more money. That essentially is what this is about. I need more money. Listen to this.
I want to take you to Davos in Switzerland, where President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your willingness to hear answers to truly important questions. When will the war end? Is the third world war possible? Is it time to negotiate with Putin? The full-scale war in Europe has been ongoing for nearly 2 years. Counting the time since Russia's illegal annexation of our Crimea, it's been almost 10 years. And for almost 10 years, Russia has been interfering in African countries from Sudan to Mali.
Now, let's ask this question. Why is he bringing up African countries? Stay on course here, Zelenskyy. You're supposed to be advocating for Ukraine. Why are you bringing up African countries? Is this supposed to make the people more sympathetic or something? Because the elites typically do not care about countries in Africa, right? Because Russia has decided to actually help assist some of these countries, pull them away from the West. Pay attention, folks.
The Syrian war still bleeding because of Putin's decision to prove something to the world has been ongoing for almost 13 years. In fact,
he brings up the Syrian war. The United States government is occupying a third of Syria, the section that has the oil. But notice how Zelensky's just trying to make it seem like it's just Russia.
One man has stolen at least 13 years of peace, replacing them with pain, and crisis.
Replacing them with pain, and crisis. He stole 13 years of peace. I would argue that Ukraine pushing up against Russia's border started that pain. I would argue that the expansion of NATO started that pain. I would argue that in the beginning, when you had the Minsk Accords and you had Ukraine and Russia from the very beginning wanting to have some type of negotiation, and it was revealed more so recently that the US and the UK actually were against that, I would say that that actually started some of that pain. But Zelenskyy wants to put it all on Russia. Pain.
That impact the entire world. Putin is trying to normalize what should have ended in the 20th century. Mass deportations, cities and villages razed to the ground, and the terrifying feeling that the war may never end. In fact, Putin embodies war. We all know that he is the sole reason why various wars and conflicts persist and why all attempts to restore peace have failed.
That's a lie. So I just told you it was revealed that the US government, it was actually the Biden administration that said no to any type of peace negotiation earlier on. But here's Zelensky lying, saying that it was actually Vladimir Putin who was responsible for that. It just, yeah, you can tell he was an actor.
And he will not change. He will not change. We must change. We all must change to the extent that the madness that resides in this man's head or any other aggressor's head will not prevail. Putin is frank about what he wants, what he does, and who his targets are. His answer to the duration of the war is always war, without an end, and he wants in this way. His answer to the limits of chaos in the world is the boundless support of terrorist forces. He enjoys conflicts that cause suffering to others. His answer to calls for peace is supplying more and more weapons from North Korea and Iran. Regimes like his exist as long as they wage wars. And we all in a free world exist as long as we can defend ourselves.
There's that phrase, the right to defend yourself. Don't forget, Zelensky approves of Israel bombing Gaza. He supports the state of Israel. Keep that in mind.
If anyone thinks this is only about us, this is only about Ukraine, they are fundamentally mistaken. Possible directions and even timeline of a new Russian aggression beyond Ukraine become more and more obvious. Let me ask very honestly, which European nation today can provide a combat-ready army on par with ours, holding back Russia?
In other words, any of these European countries going to come help us fight Russia? He's trying to drag other countries into this now. Told you that was coming.
And how many men and women are your nation ready to send to defend another state, another nation?
You guys see what's happening? Get ready for it, folks. We can't beat them on our own. So we're going to need soldiers from other countries, other nations to help us. This is insane. It's already been revealed. The cat's out of the bag that there's no way that they can beat Russia. This is officially a money laundering scheme. This is Zelensky just trying to get money from all these different countries, all these different sources, and to fight for what? You can't beat him. You can't win. How about you just go call Vladimir Putin, sit down at a table and just say, look, let's just work something out. The longer this continues, this war continues in Ukraine, the more people are going to die. So for the people who say they really care about the Ukrainian people, if you really cared about the Ukrainian people, you would be calling for peace.
And if one must fight against Putin together in the years ahead, isn't it better to put an end to him and his war strategy now, while our brave men and women are already doing it? They are the world's chance. They are. In any dire confrontation, there's always a point where catastrophe can be stopped. Ukraine is that opportunity, and we all in the free world must be unwavering in our pursuit of our desires, actions, and goals. Just as
When they say unwavering, because remember the US government, Biden administration said this in reference to Israel, unwavering support for the state of Israel. When he says unwavering, that means he's not willing to make any type of negotiation. This is wild, man.
Putin is frank about his doom-laden ambitions. We all Ukrainians began our defense at a time when almost no one in the world believed in Ukraine. But we turned tables so that now the world has stopped believing in Russia.
What part of the world? Speak for yourself, Zelensky. What part of the world has stopped believing in Russia? You know, some of the countries in Africa are on Russia's side. I mean, because they see the other perspective. China isn't backing Ukraine. I don't think the other BRICS countries are going to back Ukraine. So speak for yourself, Zelensky.
Even Putin's current buddies in Pyongyang and Tehran are simply using his madness while he still has technologies and resources to pay them. No one believes in his future or invest in it. We have to defend ourselves, our children, our houses, our lives, and we have to do it, and we can beat him on the ground. We have proved it, and at sea and in the skies. And we ramp up production of weapons. We achieved economic growth in Ukraine. Our GDP is moving up despite the war, plus more than 5% last year. And we got the decision on EU accession negotiations, and we are normalizing the idea that the aggressions can be defeated, even Putin's aggressions, which have been ongoing for 10 years and more. And
yeah, the aggression is only on Russia, right? You guys haven't done anything wrong. Ukraine hasn't done anything wrong.
now we can say, don't escalate to all who doubt, to all who want to reduce support. And in this warning, we will be absolutely correct, because every reduction in pressure on the aggressor adds years to the war. But every investment in the confidence of the defender shortens the war.
Every investment. You see what this is really about? This is a long speech to ask for some money. Because see, Zelensky, it's already been stated before that Zelensky basically feels neglected since the war in Gaza started. He feels like he's not getting as much support and attention as he was prior to the war in Gaza. So Zelensky is upset because now the attention is on someone else. Welcome to the world, Zelensky, and welcome to the world of war. This is what happens. Last year, it was your moment. Now it's someone else's moment, which is probably why you should have tried to settle this the moment that you had the opportunity to do so. Instead of listening to people like Biden and listening to these people, he actually believed that listening to Joe Biden, he actually trusted the U.S. government to have their back unconditionally. They don't even have our back unconditionally. You don't understand that as soon as something else new pops up, the U.S. government is going to pivot towards the new shiny thing. So he feels somewhat neglected.
We must make it possible to answer the most important question. The war will end with a just and stable peace. And I want you to be the part of this peace, starting from right now, to bring the peace closer. And we need you in Ukraine to build, to reconstruct, to restore our lives.
Now they also asking for money to rebuild and restore. See how this works?
Of you can be even more successful with Ukraine. And these days, right here in such beautiful country, in Switzerland, we have made a key political contribution to the possibility of ending the war. They were the most representative meeting of national security advisors regarding the implementation of the peace formula. More than 80 countries and international institutions were represented. Yesterday, I had very productive negotiation with the president of Switzerland and discussing the possibility of holding a summit at the leaders level in Switzerland.
So somehow he was able to get through to Switzerland. Now, everybody knows Switzerland is known for being neutral. So if you ever hear someone say, look, on this particular issue, I'm Switzerland, that means they're going to be neutral on that particular issue. Now, somehow they have convinced Switzerland to participate. And my whole thing is look, Switz, if I were you, just fall back into neutral zone. Don't get caught up in this stuff, because you guys usually just kind of stay to yourselves and just chill on the slopes. And now somehow, I don't know if it was Biden, I don't know if it was NATO, somehow they have dragged you in to this conflict. Hot mess.
The first summit, the Global Peace Summit. Today, our teams have already begun work on organization such a summit, not the World War III, but the Global Peace Summit. And I invite every leader and country that respects peace and international law to join us. Together, we can answer any crucial questions, and it will be the best answers. Peace must be the answer. Thank you for your...
He says, peace must be the answer, but also give me more money so I can continue to fight this war. They're just honestly inching us closer and closer to World War III. Now, that's in reference to Ukraine. Now, I want you to hear what Antony Blinken said at the World Economic Forum about the Middle East. This is wild. This is wild. Also, something happened to his plane. This was weird too. Like, I guess when he first got there, there was an issue with the plane that he was on. Wild stuff. Listen to this.
The first thing I was told to do by the president was roll up our sleeves, re-engage with our allies, re-engage with our partners, build new collections of countries that were and organizations that were fit for purpose to deal with specific problems. And I think we've done that in such a way that on some of the really big issues of the day, whether it's how to deal with China, how to deal with Russia, we have more convergence than we've had at any time in recent memory between us, key partners throughout Europe, throughout Asia, and even in other parts of the world about how to manage this problem. So that's a position of strength. Second, in areas like the Middle East, where we have this profound and in many ways gut-wrenching challenge right now, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing from virtually every country. They want the United States. They want us present. They want us at the table. They want us leading. The first thing.
What country said that? In reference to the Middle East. Antony Blinken is saying that I'm hearing from almost every country. They want the U.S. involved in the Middle East. Really? And who said that? I have a difficult time believing that. I think a lot of these countries don't want the U.S. involved at all. Countries like Afghanistan, countries like Syria, I'm pretty sure they do not want us to be present because we have destroyed leadership in these countries. Even with Iraq, does Iraq want the United States to be involved, considering we overthrew their leader and that actually gave rise to ISIS? Who told you that, Anthony? So you see what's happening here? So at the World Economic Forum, it's not just about talking about economics. They also talk about war, conflict abroad. And what's really interesting about this particular forum, you have all these powerful people from all across the world. Charles Schwab was also there. And they're having these discussions and they're making decisions about our lives and our future, but we're never offered a seat at the table. Nobody asks us what we think about these issues. You just have a handful of elite people making these decisions about us for us without talking to us. That's a dangerous thing. Now, there was another clip of Antony Blinken. What will be done in reference to the Gaza genocide? Shout out to K-Study QB. This was also a part of the World Economic Forum. Listen to this. Secretary Blinken says he is heartbroken by the Gaza genocide. Listen to this.
What we're seeing every single day in Gaza is gut-wrenching. And the suffering we're seeing among innocent men, women, and children breaks my heart. The question is, what is to be done?
So you guys heard that? The question is, what is to be done? These people are running the country. These are the people leading the country. They don't even know what to do. The question is, what can be done? Well, we listed a whole list of demands last night on this show. Permanent ceasefire. You have to make sure that the Palestinian people have self-determination. Give the Palestinian people their damn land back and their dignity. Any type of restitution that needs to be paid towards the Palestinian people. What do you mean? What can be done? You're in this position because why? Listen, we're at a very serious moment. If we have our national leaders who don't know what to do in reference to foreign policy crisis, what could be done? This is not a good look. Not a good look.
I'm hearing from virtually every country. They want the United States. They want us present. They want us at the table. They want us leading.
Well, those comments come after we saw the growing Democratic discontent over the Gaza death toll spilling out onto the Senate floor. So tell us from the Hill what this opposition looks like, and does it appear it's going to persist?
Well, Chris, we saw a showdown over this exact issue on the Senate floor yesterday when Senator Bernie Sanders introduced a resolution as part of his effort to make U.S. aid to Israel conditional. That resolution would have required the State Department to assess whether the government of Israel committed human rights violations in Gaza, and it would ask what steps, if any, the Biden administration has taken to compel Israel to limit civilian casualties. They would be required under this resolution to report to Congress on both those things.
But when Netanyahu has blatantly gone on record and said that they're going to do whatever they want to do, they think some type of resolution is going to stop Israel? When they have he's blatantly said he doesn't care what the ruling from the court is. They're not going to stop. The Biden administration, I'll tell you what can be done, Anthony. The Biden administration needs to pull as far away from Netanyahu and Netanyahu's administration as possible. The government and this country needs to pull as far away from the Israeli lobby as possible. That means pull away from AIPAC. This should be forbidden. No politician in this country should be able to take money or any type of support from an organization that represents another foreign entity. Period. AIPAC shouldn't even exist. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You're not representing this country. You're representing another country. JFK was right when he said that it should have been registered as a foreign agent. That should have happened a long time ago. But politicians should not be able to take money from an organization that represents another nation. Period. We wouldn't be in this situation. That's what can be done. Anthony.
How did the vote go? Not particularly well. The resolution by Sanders was voted down 72-11. Those are the 11 senators on the screen there who voted with Sanders on the resolution. I caught up with Senator Sanders just a few moments ago. He said he's not disappointed to get only 11. He said he's delighted to get 11, that it's just a start. It's not an end. Sanders told me that Americans have a right to know how the weapons they fund are being used, and that Prime Minister Netanyahu cannot keep taking American money if he refuses to listen to the concerns of Americans who don't want to see human rights violations. Now, big picture, near term, the votes are there in Congress overall for aid to Israel. The progressive opposition is real, but that's not the obstacle here. The real obstacle here is Republican demands for immigration add-ons, which will determine whether aid to Israel and aid to Ukraine has a chance of getting a vote in Congress and ultimately passing. Chris, the real problem here is the political problem that you mentioned at the top. President Biden's re-election hopes. There are a lot of young voters, a lot of progressive voters who are absolutely essential to any winning coalition for Biden, who are deeply disappointed in the way Israel has conducted this war and that the U.S. has supported it and want to see change. Biden's going to have to find a way to bring them back into the fold.
That's really interesting. If you guys notice what they're saying now, remember the number of times they have said that young voters, our vote doesn't matter. They don't care about us. We don't show up. Now, all of a sudden, they need that young vote. Right, because young voters did show up to vote for Joe Biden, particularly in states like Georgia. Now, all of a sudden, they need us, whereas before they're like, oh, nobody cares about them. They don't really make an impact. No one cares. Now, there's one funny moment that I saw happen from the WEF. I don't know who gave the green light for this, but I think we could all use a laugh tonight. I don't know who made this banner, but watch this. Everybody see it? Now, I don't know what happened here, but I saw this on Twitter and I said, you got to be kidding me. And these are the people, the most powerful people in the world. These are the people making all of these decisions, these economic decisions, decisions about war. You know, I just don't get it. It just ain't no meeting. So this is, you know, it's an annual meeting, but I don't know. I saw this on Twitter. I thought it was funny. I thought people would get a kick out of that. Could be photoshopped. It could be, some people are saying, but I thought it was funny. I thought it was pretty funny. You guys have fun with that one.